Welcome to the Nurtured Nerds Epic Podcast.
Come join us and get cuddly, get gaming, get nerdy,
and get nurtured. All right, thank you for joining us, everyone. I'm Alyssa, aka the IRL support main, and I am the creator of Nurtured Nerds. And I am a platonic touch therapy, aka cuddle therapy practitioner. And also, I have been training in shamanic energy medicine the last year and always interested to learn and add more to my offerings. And I also love video games and I love role playing and sci-fi and fantasy. And this has been such a wonderful project to bring together everyone who's interested in joining those two worlds that might not always intersect enough. So we're here to help them intersect a little bit more. And I'm here with my lovely co-host, Grace. Would you like to introduce yourself, Grace?
Sure. So I'm Grace. Oh, you want more? Okay. I'm also a professional cuddler, and I'm certified as one-on-one cuddling or individual cuddling, as well as cuddle group facilitation. And I am also a certified life coach and an end-of-life doula. And I've been sort of hanging out with Alyssa since kind of the beginning of Nurtured Nerds. So it's super fun for me to be able to come and pop in occasionally here and co-host with her.
It's great to have you on as always. So thank you for joining.
Yeah, thanks. And I'm also happen to be a seasoned world traveler as well. So I'm super interested to have this conversation with Mark. Just in case we don't know who our guest is yet. That's like a little
you spoiled it a little.
Oh no.
Darn. No. But on that note, we are here to explore and celebrate all things nerdy and cuddly as always. And on this episode, our part 2 of our travel episode, we are nerding out on traveling again, but this time with Mark from Wolters World. He's a true legend of the travel YouTube community. And we'll also talk about some more nerdy things, cuddly things, and let you know what's currently going on in our community of nerds, cuddlers, and gamers. We still have a raffle for our new members to win a care package. And if you're watching or listening to this podcast on YouTube, please give us a like and subscribe to see our new podcast episodes as they come out. Also give us a comment, let us know what kind of nerd you are and how you gamify your own wellness. We want to hear from you, and we'd love your feedback and your ideas for future episodes. Thank you for joining us, Mark. Would you like to tell us a little more about yourself?
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Alyssa. Grace, good to see you as well. Always nice to have other travelers and sci-fi fans and fantasy fans together. It's one of my things. I've been a huge Doctor Who fan. That was my original sci-fi entry when I was very little. The late night PBS St. Louis channel would have it on at 10 o'clock at night, and we would go to the babysitter's house, and their son would video record it, remember back VHS Betamax tapes, and we watched that Monday after school, after Sunday's episodes. And so ever since I was a kid, I've always loved the British sci-fi has been one of my favorite things out there. But I run a travel YouTube channel called Wolters World, and we go around the world, my wife and I and our 2 sons, and we like to find new fun places to go and give people advice on where they could travel, the do's and don'ts of travel, and how not to get scammed. But a lot of really honest travel advice without all the kind of fluff and flowy dresses and floppy hats. And it's more like, hey, you want to go travel, you want to get the most out of this, we want to help you do that. So that's what we really focus on. And yeah, and what's cool is I love the idea of coming on here when you guys told me about the Nurtured Nerd. I'm like, yes, I love the sci-fi, I love the fantasy, I love cosplay, all this stuff. It was really cool. So thank you for the invitation.
Yeah.
Great. And I'm a huge Doctor Who fan also. So you must have started around Tom Baker's time, right?
Yes, I did. That was my original favorite one back in the day. The scarf and everything. I remember one of the people our babysitter, she knitted her son a 7-foot scarf like Tom Baker's back in the day. And everyone were like, that is so cool. But we were kids, so it's like, 7 foot when you're like, 7 years old. It's like, oh my God, that's insane. I can't wear
You'd
that.
wrap your whole body in it.
Yeah, so it was a fun thing. And that, then it went into other sci-fi British stuff too. So it was funny because it was like, oh, we have Doctor Who, then right after would be like Red Dwarf and other ones that were.
Oh man, it makes me wish Mary was here. She loves Red Dwarf.
Yeah, that was one of the ones that was a funny one. So
That's awesome. And Mark, I want to know how old your kids are.
So my oldest is 16 and my youngest is 11.
Okay.
They both started traveling at about 6 weeks old. They both been to over 50 countries each. So they're now competing because one goes to school another place, one's with us. So it's like he's like, hey, my brother's gone this semester. Can we get some extra countries so I can catch up to him?
That's awesome.
Yeah, so we took him. He's like for spring break. He's like, can we go someplace like warm and beachy? I'm like, sure, we can help you catch up and go to the beach for a few days.
That's awesome. So I'm supposed to apparently be paying attention to the script.
It's okay. I don't have the script either. It is totally fine.
Awesome.
We can talk about all kinds of cool stuff.
So I'm going to pause and take a sip of my organic peppermint tea. What are you drinking? Something, Mark? Do you have a beverage of choice?
My mom's cuckoo clock's going off right now, straight from Germany. My go-to tea is actually, and it's now. Can you hear the jingle?
Oh, barely.
Oh, so yeah, no, my go-to tea is actually if you get Yorkshire tea from York, England. I like tea. I've always drank tea. I was a big chai guy for a long time, and then I was in York in January, and they're fanatical about their Yorkshire tea. And so like all the bed and breakfast I stayed at, they had like, you have a cup of tea and it's all ready for you and everything. I'm like, my goodness, this is amazing. So I was trying to figure out where it is. And so I'm like stalking them on Twitter. I'm like, hey, how can I get some of this stuff? Like I've already drank all of it that I brought back from England. Where do I get it? They're like, well, we have one distributor. You can contact them. I'm like, ordered 100 bags right away. We're almost gone. So
he said,
like when you find the right tea, you're like, I have to have it. I have to have it.
I get that.
Tea is powerful.
How about you, Alyssa? What are you drinking tonight?
I am drinking a Celestial Seasonings tea called Gingerbread Spice. It's one of their holiday teas. And cinnamon is one of those things that I go through phases where I either really don't like it or I must have it every day. And I'm in the latter phase right now. So I've been having it almost every day.
Awesome. So, Mark, tell us a little bit more about yourself and what it is that you do and how you do you relate to the term nerd according to your to the work that you do with travel?
I take it as a badge of honor. I tell my kids it's the highest compliment to be called a nerd because you're smart and you're doing something with your intelligence versus just being smart. And in my day job, I'm actually a associate teaching professor at the University of Illinois, East College of Business. So I've actually won a number of teaching awards. Poets and Quants had me as one of the top 50 undergraduate business professors in the world. I've won a number of teaching awards, like everywhere I've gone. So I love, and I want. Thing is, like, you can be a nerd and you can share that with people. So I will sneak in references here and there in my marketing classes. So what's really easy is like once the MCU came out, everyone like had their like kind of nerdy kind of stuff. If you're going for the comic booky kind of things, I know it's the movies, but it's close enough. It's a gateway. It's a gateway into comic books. And so I will use those examples like their box office and how they change things and why is it that Spider-Man 3 was so bad? Well, that's called marketing myopia because they only look at the script thinking, yes, have every villain ever. That sounds so cool, but they don't look at the audience and realize an audience wants a good story. You can have one villain or a million villains. As long as it's a good story, you'll be fine. And sadly, Spider-Man 3 did not have a good story. It didn't matter that they had all those villains in there. And so I do try to sneak it in and like sometimes when I write my exams, I will do like kind of like a situation, and the situation will relate to something Doctor Who or comic booky. It's kind of like, oh, the Stark Enterprises toaster is this, and so you give the description, and so I try to sneak it in there a little bit. But yeah, that's my day job is a professor at the University of Illinois, and then I run the YouTube channel Wolters World, and we're almost at 1 million subscribers, about 225 million views on our main channel. And we have a number of smaller channels like for food and like Wolters World Eats. And when I do all of my business courses I teach, I actually will film them around the world while I travel. And then my students, like if they're sick for a day, or they have another exam, or they got an interview and they can't make it to class, I'm like, hey, go look at the topic 12 videos on professorwolters.com, and you can see all the topics we talked about today, so they're not missing out. I mean, not that they actually go watch them, but the option is there if they want to learn. So, and I'm really big into democratization of education. So if I can help other people learn anywhere in the world, that's what I love about YouTube. I want to help people, and however that is. So there's the business side of it. I've done like helping people start YouTube channels, my students. And then the big thing is the travel. And so I studied abroad twice in high school, twice in college, did my master's in Germany, my PhD in Portugal, taught in Lithuania for 3.5 years, taught and worked in Brazil before. I've taught about 12 other countries around the world in different times. And so it's just one of those things that I've always been traveling as much as I can since I was in high school. And one time when I was in my PhD, I visited northern Italy and I bought a guidebook there, and the guidebook made this one town sound fantastic. And then I went there and it was a total disappointment. And all I could think about were my friends back in the US that maybe got 10 days of vacation, and if they would have bought this guidebook that obviously they got paid to say something really nice about a place that wasn't that nice, like they might stay 2 nights there. So I'm thinking, like, my friends, their one vacation in their life, 10 days in Europe, 20% is wasted because someone was overly fluffy about a destination. I was like, and I just remember that hit me right in the heart. I'm like, that's not right. So from that moment on, I really focus on giving honest travel advice. And so we started off with like 5 things you'll love and hate about going to places. And it's not really hate. It's more like 5 things you're gonna love and 5 annoyances that might upset you. Because like sometimes there's things I'll see travelers that they'll get upset by one little tiny thing and it'll like ruin their vacation. Like, oh, they made me pay for the bread. And they get like, I hate Portugal, blah, blah, blah. You're like, dude, it even says on the menu, you got to pay for the bread. Okay. It's not free chips and salsa everywhere in the world. And so by us teaching people these things, it no longer upsets them. It's like, oh, I knew that trick, and so it goes from a negative experience to a positive experience. And that's what we really try to focus on, is just make it a very positive travel oriented thing, but it's realistic and honest. So I'm helping you not get ripped off, helping you not miss the good sides. Because that's what's funny, because some people come on, oh, I came to watch your video because it's the don'ts of going to Portugal, and I was expected to be upset, but actually it was more like, don't forget to do this. And then you had some honest other stuff. So I appreciated that. And I'm like, those are the best compliments I could get. But it really is, it's just, I want to be the thing. So if you're a family or you're a solo traveler and you want to go someplace and you're not sure, and you don't want to just have fluff and stuff from Chat GPT, you want someone that's actually been there and done that, I want to give you that information. So that's where that's like my passion comes out through there.
Dig it.
I'm trying to think of like a superhero persona for you around that. You're like the ultimate travel guide. You've got everyone's back, and you're helping them boost their travel related stats. Yeah.
Say it again, Mark. I didn't quite hear.
I'm the man in the chair. I'm Madam Web. There you go. I'm Madam Web, helping everyone get their travels in the right spot.
Love it. I was thinking Captain Travel.
Hey, I'll take that.
I like it.
I'll take that.
Awesome.
You dropped a lot on us there. There's so many things I want to ask about now, and I'm trying to narrow it down.
Oh, we got time. Let's start wherever you like. It's not a problem.
I really love that you mentioned solo travelers. And because I hesitate to travel by myself, but I'm also learning that it's not so bad. It's not like taboo, but particularly like if I know that I can reach out to an expert about single woman traveling alone, what's safe, what's not, how do I, is it possible to get good deals, etc. So I
Yeah,
really
no,
appreciate that you're offering that.
yeah, that is one thing. We get a lot of questions. A lot of people think, okay, how is it different being a solo traveler than going with my friends? And the big difference is you don't have to deal with your friends' issues. It's like friends and fish smell in 3 days. Now imagine when you're living in a hotel with them for 3 weeks.
Right,
It can
right.
be much. No, but I think the big difference with solo travel is you have to make sure you keep on yourself to keep seeing things. Because sometimes you do need to take a day, like, you know what, I'm just going to Netflix and relax and watch a new episode. The Mandalorian got a new episode out this Wednesday. I'm going to chill out here. I mean, we've been going around the country. We were actually traveling when Wednesday came out on Netflix last year. And my son, he's like, you got to watch the show. I'm like, yeah, we're here. It was like a holiday thing we were going to. And I'm like, oh, we should. And then he got me hooked. I ended up like binge watching the whole thing, like all evening through it's like 6 in the morning when I finished. He like comes downstairs. I'm like, that was pretty good. He's like, you just watched the whole thing? I'm like, yeah, that was pretty cool. He's like, all right, Dad, we got to go do Christmassy travel stuff now. I'm like, thanks, buddy. So I was a bit of a zombie the rest of that day.
Yeah.
No, but the solo travel thing, that is one thing. You're not the only person that worries about it or questions about it. We get a lot of questions for it. And I've tried to discuss it, but I know for female solo travelers, me talking about it is not helpful. Like people are like, Mark, you're a big husky dude. Like people aren't messing with you. My wife is 5'3", weighs like $120 soaking wet, maybe $130, but don't tell her I said that. But she and so now it's like, hey, babe, you need to make some of these videos because she just filmed. She was in Italy and France with a friend of hers recently, and she filmed a new version of our women solo traveler safety videos. So we're gonna have that coming out for the summer travel season because right now you have the spring break stuff, but this is a European solo traveler because a lot of women go there. And the biggest thing I always tell women solo travelers is, your drink always needs to be your drink. Don't let anybody buy you a drink. Don't ever give you a drink. I mean, I've had 2 times people have tried to roofie me. Both times I got away. Like one, it was literally like, oh my God. And I knew a taxi where the taxis work. I lived in Lisbon. I got in a taxi, like, you got to get me home. Like they got me home and I woke up the next day. I'm like, what the heck happened? And that's where, and that was at a bar I knew, it was just that the bartender gave me a drink that was supposed to go for somebody else and someone was trying to get some other person, and it's just like, they're like, hey, Mark, you get the beer first instead. So, I mean, that's one of those things. It doesn't happen a lot, but it's worth always paying attention. That's why if it's a solo traveler, I usually recommend going to hostels. A lot of times you meet other travelers and hostels aren't just for like 18-year-old college students anymore. I mean, it's 18 to 88. You'll see a huge wide range of people there. And so you kind of meet a travel buddy for the day, and so you have someone to go see the Louvre with and go grab lunch with them, maybe dinner, you get drinks later, whatever. You have that kind of camaraderie of another solo traveler to make friends. And honestly, when you're a solo traveler, I found it easier for me to meet locals when I go around being that solo traveler because I mean, you get kind of lonely, especially if you go on like a 3-week trip by yourself, which sometimes I do for filming. And it's just like, okay, it's too early to call my wife to see how she's doing because she'll kill me if I call her at 3 a.m. So I'm like, la, da, 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 da. Hey, how are you? It's funny because food is a really nice way. Someone has to, hey, what's that? What do you eat? That looks good. And they're like, oh, and if they like it, then it really can help bond, like give you a chance to talk. Another thing, if you're never sure what to talk about when you're like traveling, we all went through COVID. We all went through the pandemic. We all were locked up for a couple of years. That's something you can talk about. Like you don't have to talk politics or any of that, but you just talk about what did you watch? What were you doing? And that is, once you find a common thread, a common bond, you can make friends wherever you travel. So don't be scared to travel solo. Women, men, I mean, people will contact me and they're like, hey, my daughter wants to backpack Europe by herself. My daughter wants to backpack South America by herself. It's like, well, I would have no problems letting my kids do that. I would have no problem letting my nieces do that. But the thing is, I would make sure, hey, watch the videos. Let's go through some of the main safety things to look out for. And you should be okay, and that's just it. Not enough people are always doing their research beforehand to know what are the kind of common scams and common things to watch out for, so but that was one of the things is by giving people the information that we do, it's all about helping you, whether you're a group or a solo traveler, knowing those do's and don'ts. It's going to make every travel better.
Thanks, Mark. Good stuff.
Yeah, no, you're like my primo target. That's exactly what I'm trying to help. Solo traveler. I want to go see some stuff. Yeah, because this is one thing. A lot of times after COVID, a lot of people are having a hard time. I'm not saying you, I'm just saying in general, people are having a hard time reconnecting with their friends, so they're traveling by themselves. And so sometimes like, hey, you know what? Maybe I meet, I want to meet up with Grace for like 3 days in Barcelona, and then we go our own way, and then I meet up with Alyssa in Paris for a few days later, and we have like it's like we're putting our feet back in the traveling with our friends water again. And so I filmed a video in Miami with a friend of mine. It's going to come out. That's also for the summer. It's just how to travel with your friends again, having the conversations of talking about money, talking about destination, talking about what you want to do, knowing that it's okay to say, you know what, the third day we're all on our own. Just do whatever you want, just to because you love your friends, but you also have your own home and your own bed, and you don't have to deal with them 24/7. So
right. And I feel like it's good to take breaks from so that you don't have that, fish head problem.
yes.
You spend 2 or 3 days together, and then okay, so solo day, go off and then come back, share about it, and then a couple of days together again. That's a great way to have like a breather in between.
And it's not even just with friends, it's also with family. Like we travel with my parents sometimes, and I like my dad, I know he'll eat the local food the whole time, but I know by day 5 or 6 he needs a cheeseburger. He needs something that he knows. He's 79, so it's like I know I gotta find an Irish pub, and maybe I'll take the kids with us. I'm like, hey dad, let's go, and we'll just go together and go here. Like you can have a shepherd's pie. You get to have something, like some places it's easy. Like when we're in Italy, it's not really a big deal because he likes all the Italian food, so it's not a thing. But when we were in, like Japan or China or Rwanda, it's like, all right, we gotta find Billy Bob something, that he feels like, And so like that gives my mom and the kids a break too. And then I'm like, hey, Dad and I are gonna do stuff. So.
Nice. Alyssa, there you go.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit more about food. I noticed you finally brought that in, and I wanted to bring it up because I know that's a big part of your travel experiences, what you enjoy, what you like to share about. So maybe it's our favorite. No, just through the grapevine, through Gita. I know he loves your channel, so he is kind of helping guide this interview. And so I just wondered if there was maybe a favorite experience that you wanted to share, maybe something that was famous in the area that you went there for it and it wasn't what you expected, or it was better than you expected, or something like that.
So one of the things I love is because I do so much research, and when I get to go to a place that there's not a lot of information on, and then I go eat the food, I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. So we went to Rwanda a few years ago, and I mean, there was literally nothing on Rwanda. Only thing, if you search Rwanda, all they ever talked about was the genocide, from 30 years ago, and that was all you could find. And so we were going in there blind, basically. It's basically you go see the Gorillas in the Mist, and then you got the genocide memorials, and then you can see the big 5 safari stuff. And we went in, we're like, we want to see the culture. So we scheduled all this stuff up. The kids ended up getting to like play soccer with the local kids, all kinds of stuff. But finding what the food was, like I could find East African food, but there was nothing Rwandan food. There was no Rwanda, cookbooks or anything you could find. And we went there, and so it's a lot of vegetarian food there. Not because religious reasons, it's because killing the cow for the meat would be inefficient, because we can use the dung for fuel, the milk we can use that for stuff, the blood we can use that for stuff. Dung is fertilizer as well, so it's very sustainable. And they have these incredible vegetarian dishes. Like there's one, it's like peanut banana heaven. Like it's a main dish. I mean, it's one of those things you think it was, if you looked at it, you think it was more of like an Indian curry maybe, but it's not. It's like a creamy banana peanutty heaven, and like trying to find, like, how do you explain that to people? Like here, you're like, I'm having a hard time explaining to you. And that's what I love. It's like, I found something new, and then like go, I guess I used to live in Brazil. We were back in Brazil a couple weeks ago, last week. Yeah, a couple weeks ago, whatever. And it was great to be back because the fruit, like fruits you never heard of, like cashews, the cashew nut comes on a plant.
That's a fruit, yeah.
The fruit's the size of an apple, and they have cashew juice. And I'm like, cashew juice? Really? Really? And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. You have like fruit that just changes when you have it there, the true freshness of it versus sitting on a boat for a month and ripening on the way. But it's literally we're picking it ripe off the tree and having a mango like that. It's kind of like when you go to Ireland and have a Guinness there, it's like so fresh, it doesn't taste like the same beer. And that's one thing I love when we go around, is just trying the local food. And I don't get me wrong, I love Anthony Bourdain, his stuff, Guy Fieri with his diners, drive-ins, and dives, getting people to go and find restaurants and try stuff there. It's really cool. But one thing that happens is people only go to that restaurant and they only order that one thing that Anthony Bourdain eats. And I'm like, there's so much more. There's so many more restaurants, and I've seen some of the no reservations. I've been to those places. Like there was one, it was in Lisbon. I'm like, I know exactly where that is. There's actually a better restaurant 3 doors down, and I'm like, we ate there all the time. And I'm like, And so that's why in our videos, we make it a point not to talk about restaurants. We talk about the food you should have. So then people are kind of forced into, getting out of their comfort zone. And hey, I should ask, let me find that restaurant that has that local food. And sadly, I know that has really hurt our views because people are just like, no, I must know the exact restaurant. I'm like, but restaurants change so fast and they close so often, especially with COVID. If I was doing restaurant reviews, half the restaurants closed after, since COVID. So I'd rather give people the skills. This is what you should eat in the Dominican Republic. This is what you should have when you go to Seattle. This is what you should have when you're in Rome. And then you go and explore, so you have your own experience. And sometimes people are like, no, just tell me exactly where it goes. Like the best, they'll be like, where's that restaurant at the 2:13 mark in your video? Like, okay, I'm trying. Look, I usually know. Like, it's like, oh yeah, that's, I'll tell them where it is. I'm like, I'll look up on Google Maps. I'm like, it's closed, or oh yeah, it's still open. It's it's open on Thursdays. So
yeah.
But that's one thing, is you really get to learn about a lot about the cultures because of their food. But honestly, if you want to learn a lot about the culture, go to the grocery store. You go to the grocery store, you see how people shop, what they really eat. Because grocery stores don't have the silly stuff. Oh, no. They have like what people are eating every day. And then you really start to see, oh, that's what breakfast is like there. That's what the kids are having for snack. It's kind of like when I talk to people coming to the US, they're like, oh, I have to have steak and Chicago style pizza or New York style pizza. I'm like, well, yeah, but you also need to have, grandma made chocolate chip cookies, not Chips Ahoy, but grandma made, and grandma made fried chicken. And you know what? Get some Kraft macaroni and cheese if you want the real deal, And like, you don't ever think of having that on a vacation to the US. I'm like, that is true Americana. And so that's what we try to do, is like, hey, you should try this out when you're there. You're in Lithuania, have some gira. It's basically kind of in the root beer family, but it tastes more like Bud, but it's something they love. And you don't see it on restaurants. You only see it in the store.
Yeah. So I'm racking my brain trying to think of the name of that peanut sauce. And the one that I'm familiar with is, I think, from Ghana, not from Rwanda.
Yeah.
But can you pull that out of your brain?
Sadly, not at the top of my head.
Okay.
I would have to go to my videos, because I have the name in my videos. But the thing is, they'd always would translate it. And because they had gone from French to English as the official like tourism language, so everything was like bananas in peanut sauce. I'm like, oh no, it's got to have a better name than that. And so that's why I'm like, oh. But I mean, it was literally everywhere we went. And if we went to some of the places we stayed, they had the restaurant in the hotel, and and literally like, what do you want? There was no menu. Like, what do you want? I'm like, I have this peanut banana. Like, oh yeah, we got it. You're fine. Like, they knew right away. So it was like. It's like I said, yeah, there's this thing. It's like a bun, and in the middle there's some meat and cheese. I don't know what that is. I'm like, oh, it's a hamburger. Like, they already knew it was a cheeseburger kind of thing. So, so like that's what it was, because it was one of those things. Like, they knew as soon as I started talking, so I never actually. It's like, dang it.
Yeah. So I'd like to ask like, one of the questions that's on our list is, have you made like significant friendships along the way in your travels? And I can already tell that that's a yes, because of who you are, and I already feel like you're my best pal.
Yeah.
So
yes. So some of my best friends that I have. So last summer I was at my friend Fernando's wedding. I was the best man. That was in Italy, and I speak Italian, but they're like, look, don't speak, because if they see your accent, they might not think you speak Italian, and then they're gonna have to get an official translator. So just be like, just nod your head. Don't say "see," just nod your head. Because I understood everything, is to fill out all the forms, but it's one of those things that you know. And so there's my buddy. Then I got my buddy Alvi in Lithuania. My buddy Magnus, who's funny, he's a German that lives in Brazil, and we meet up in Florida a lot because we've been friends. Like we went, because we both did our masters in Germany and Berlin, and so we became friends. It was one of those like solo traveler thing. I just moved there by myself. He moved from another part of Germany there by ourselves in this dorm, and no one had moved in yet. And so I'm like, "Hey, how are you?" He's like, "Hello." And so like I spoke crappy German. He spoke crappy English, but a little bit of whiskey. We've been best friends for 25 years now. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. So that's one of those things. Like, and that was actually the toughest thing for me during COVID. Is, you know, a lot of people had like really. I had one really good friend where I live, but my really hardcore, really like friends for 20, 30 year friends, they're in France, they're in Portugal, they're in Italy, they're in Lithuania, they're in Brazil. And it was like, I can't see them. So last year, when we finally could go travel again, I went to Finland to see some. I went to Lithuania to see Albi. I was at the wedding for Fernando.
Yeah.
I saw my buddy Dave, who lives in London. You know, it was like, I had to see them. We went down to Brazil to see my host family where I used to live in Brazil, because I wanted to see them, you know, because the mother had passed away during COVID, and I didn't get a chance to say goodbye, didn't get a chance to pay my respects. So it was like, we got to go down there for that. And it's just like, it was killing me, because I'm like, I miss my friends. Like, we can do our Zoom chats, and we remember the Zoom drinking and having chats and stuff, but being there, like, it was just like the smile on my face when I get off the plane or get off the train in their towns and they're there. It's like, I missed you so much, man. Like, just big old hugs, and you know, it's like the cuddling kind of stuff. It's like, yeah, bring it in, man, bring it in.
Yes, there's nothing. I mean, I agree with you. There are ways that we can connect on video, on the phone, but in person, there's nothing like in person, like that, having that actual, you know, face.
I mean, it brought me to tears. It brought me to tears. Like, I knew I missed them, but you know, you miss people, but when they're there, that's when you're like, it hits. Like, I'm tearing up now, because it's so powerful. You know, it's like I have, like, I don't know if you can see, I have goosebumps right now just thinking about that. And you're like, you know, and I feel so bad, because I think of all like my friends and their kids, and like they were, you know, they didn't see anybody, and just like the heartache for so many people. It still kills me this day.
Yeah. I get you.
Yeah, and there's definitely that visceral experience of being with someone together in the same physical space.
Yeah.
And yeah, we're all about that here, so we definitely relate.
Yeah, I'm glad. Yeah, that was the thing. It was like, we're hugging. I don't care. We're hugging, man. It's been too long, you know. Because we were, so summer of 2020, we were going to see a bunch of friends. And then we hadn't seen some for a couple of years. So there was like, we're getting, summer's coming, we're going to go see everybody. And then it was gone, and it was gone again. And it was like, I have to see them. Like, usually I try to travel to a lot of new places, you know, to film new videos and stuff. But 2022 is like, no, we are going to see our friends. We're going to see our family. Like, we're going to see them, because dang it, I miss them. You know, and so my wife, she went with her friends and traveled with them. She did things. Sometimes I travel myself. Sometimes she travels by herself. Sometimes we're together. Sometimes with the kids too. So yeah, it was. Last year was definitely a kind of a healing year, I guess you'd say. You know, just like, I don't know, it was healing, like more like becoming more whole again. If that makes sense. You know.
Absolutely, it does. Yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. Alyssa, do you want to take the next question, or shall I?
Yeah, I'm just sitting with the implications of everything that Mark has been saying.
Yeah.
And letting it sink in. There's a lot there that we could talk about too. But maybe I'll ask something that I actually was wondering about already as you were talking, which is, so you have friends that you intentionally go and see in different places, but have you ever been recognized by somebody that you didn't know, but they knew you from your channel? And like, what was that like?
So in my videos, I always tell people, if you see me filming, come up and say hi. Like, please, because what'll happen is sometimes they're like they won't say anything. I see them, they see me. I know they know who I am. Like, I know, and I wave. They don't say anything. They just walk away. And then they'll like send me a DM on Instagram. Yeah, you were filming today, but I didn't want to bother you, so I'm now writing you on Instagram. I'm like, like this is freakier than people just come up. Like just come up and say hi. You know, that's what I love when people come up and say hi. And it's funny because sometimes it's really random places. Like, yeah, where I teach, I was at the grocery store, and I was going, you know, like into like getting my fruity pebbles with my son, right? And we're going around. This lady looks at me, and she, you know, like in one aisle, you know, she's like, "Huh?" I'm like, "Oh, whatever." Yeah. And then the next aisle, she sees my son. She goes, "You're Wolters World." I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, "I wasn't sure." And then I saw your son, and then I knew it was you. I'm like, "Cool." And I always love when people come up, we and chat, we talk about travel and stuff. So it's really nice when people do come up and say, "Hey." I mean, when I travel in Europe, it'll happen like 2 or 3 times a day. Someone comes and says hi. It's mostly at the airport. I get the most at the airport though. When I'm going through, like if you're like in Chicago Terminal 5 International, or in Paris at the places where I film a lot, I've had a lot of videos from, I get that. But then there's like random places. Like I was in Wales. I had no videos on Wales. Okay. Was there filming. We're in a town of like 3,000 people at their grocery store. No kidding. 3 aisles in a row was a different person that was a fan. I thought they were like they were all together. No, they were 3 different like groups, like persons that were there that were fans. And I was getting a picture of another person, and it was pretty funny. So I was like, wow, I've never even been here. I'm big in a small town in Wales, so that was really kind of a fun thing.
It's very synchronistic. That's really cool.
That's awesome. So I'm going to jump in for a sec. Is that okay, Alyssa? Because we've talked about traveling with friends. We've talked about traveling solo and traveling with family. How do you feel about traveling with groups, like tour groups?
Oh, so people ask us when we're going to take tours for people, but my whole thing is I want to give people the skills so they don't need a tour. They can do it on their own. Like that's my whole thing, is like I want to empower people to travel on their own. Now, having said that, I do take groups of students from the university I teach at, and so we'll do a study abroad thing. Like I'm doing one this year. We're going to Spain and Portugal. And I'm teaching a class while we're going around so they can see marketing in Spain and marketing in Portugal. Let's talk about it in class. So we do that. So the only group ones I do are usually the ones I run with my students. So that's kind of a fun one, because a lot of students, they can't afford to go for a whole semester, or maybe they don't want to go for a whole semester, or they're scared to go for, or their parents don't want them to go. So they can go for like a 10-day trip or a 3-week trip. You know, so I do those. And most of the students that look, I don't want to go for a long time. I just want to have this experience, and it's great because I see how it changes them, and it's a really fantastic thing. And I enjoy running those. So like I could see myself running group things in the future. But one thing I always tell people, if you're going to do like a cruise or a group tour, just remember, everybody's problem is your problem. So if someone's late, you're all late. If someone's sick, you're all sick. And so that's where it can be a little bit stressful. Now, the thing is, what's nice about group tours, though, you don't have to do anything. They do everything for you. They tell you, hey, have your luggage outside the door at 8 a.m. Be downstairs for breakfast at 9. Put on the earphones for the tour of the Louvre. And in that way, it's actually very helpful. And for group tours, what I usually tell like my college students, because a lot of them will do like they graduate and then they like go backpack Europe for like a month or two. I was like, hey, you know what? Go see as many different places as you can when you're 22, because then later when you're 32, you're like, hey, I like that place. I want to go back for a longer period of time. So that's why sometimes, like, you know, group tours, going and seeing all those different places, then you know next time where you do want to go, but also it's important where you don't want to go. So you're not wasting time going back to a place. You know what? I don't need to go back to Brussels. If I'm going to go back to Belgium, we're going to go to Ghent and Bruges. That's where I really want to spend more time. So we're doing those. But yeah, group tours can be fun. I know I was on one. It was a cruise with a French tour company, and it was me. This was like, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago, and the average age I think was about 81. And I'm not 81. Not yet. I'm getting closer every day. But it was funny because it was kind of like me and like people that are older, my parents, and I got to improve my French. But it was one of those things that really hit home. It's like, if you're going to do a group tour, make sure you're doing, because the company had paid me to go on this cruise to like make videos, and I'm like, yeah, this is more for this cruise is for older French people. Like, yeah, that's fine, but they just wanted more content out there, like just people talk about us. I'm like, okay. I mean, I got to see Croatia, so we're fine. But I always tell people, it's really important that you do your research, because even if it's a bus tour, I mean, there's bus tours, there's cruises specifically for what you want. Like there are cruises, there's tours. If you're a cosplay person, there's tours that'll tie things together, so you can go to a Comic-Con or C2E2 kind of thing, so it can kind of go together. So everyone's kind of got the same, I don't know, like likes, right? Like likes, desires, things we want to do, and so it kind of works together. Because then we can have that conversation. Like that's why when you're talking, when Alyssa's like, "Oh yeah, sci-fi and fantasy and cosplay," I'm like, "Oh cool!" Like if we scroll through my Instagram, that's like half the stuff that pops up here, And so it's like that's awesome. And when you find groups like that, that's what makes it more fun. And then you meet friends on those tours that you might go on other tours with. So that's where it's important. And also can work the other way. Where you're like, I never want to travel with other people again. So that can or it's like everybody hated that couple. They always cause problems. So it's like everything. There's pros and cons.
Sure.
I have a video, 5 things women hate about package tours. So
there you go. And I just asked because I have a friend who works for a well-known travel company that I'm not going to name. And actually, so my friend was on the tour, and she and the tour guide fell in love, and now they're married. And so like for her, it worked out really great. But
it sounds like a Hallmark movie.
Right?
The Christmas Traveler.
Yes, exactly.
A tour guide of love.
So it's really
seriously
fascinating.
Alyssa, we need to write Hallmark right away.
There you go.
Gotta get our writing credits.
I'm sure they got it in their archives somewhere.
Sorry Grace. So
it's all good. It's all good. So I just so she was traveling with her mom and her daughter and the rest of this tour group, and so it was and it was kind of a mixed age group, so that was good. But also that like that particular group is well known for traveling inexpensively and traveling like getting to know the culture. So I imagine who
I think I know who you're talking about, but I won't say it either.
So anyway, thanks for letting me ask that question and kind of derail us to Hallmark for a second.
No problem.
I gotta ask you something that Gita really wants to hear about.
People are coming all the time.
I gotta ask you something that Gita really wants to know about, which is what is the most lost that you've ever gotten in your travels, and how did you find your way?
Well, there was one time I actually wasn't lost, but it could have been not the best. I was in Guadalajara, Mexico when I was in high school, and I'd met some locals when I was there, and they took me out for a few nights, going around. I mean, this is in the 90s, so it was a different time. And so they're like, hey, it's your last night, let's go out. And so we went and, went to some clubs, we went out to dinner, all kinds of stuff. And as we're going around town, at the time, I was very skinny and I had long bleach blonde hair, like to my butt. And so like when you're going around, we're like in the back of pickup trucks going around places, and my blonde hair is flowing in the wind. And
did you look like a woman or something?
What's up?
Did they think you looked like a woman and like mistake you for a woman?
And okay. So they were following us around the town, and so we ended up having to like hide. Like there was a wedding party getting their picture taken. We were hiding behind them, and then like we were running from things. A taxi driver came, like, "You guys can't be here. It's not safe." We're like, "We don't have any money." I'm like, they're like, "It's okay. I'm gonna take it." Drop me. Got to the hotel. Then I got to the hotel, and I went, and then I forgot what room it was, and I thought I knew what the room number was. And I'm like, my key isn't working. Like knocking, my dad's not there, and the cleaning person comes by, they let me in. Like, this isn't my room. I was like 17. I used to 17. I like come out. I'm like, I don't know what to do. So I walk down to the lobby. I don't ask the front desk, hey, where's the Wolters thing? So eventually, I figured out where it really was. I'm like, oh wait, we're like 8:17 instead of 7:18. I go upstairs. It's like, I don't know, 5 in the morning.
Oh my gosh.
I walk in, my dad like rolls over, he's like, car leaves at 6.
Oh no.
Sleep. I went to the bathroom, slept for like 30 minutes, and we were out. But like that was one of those times, like I wasn't technically lost, but I was like, where did our room go?
That's awesome. So you've been traveling for a long time in your life. And it sounds like your family, like your growing up family, your family of origin also is very open and it's important. That's like an important value for them. Yes?
Well, yeah, the openness is that's one thing. Our house is always open. Everyone is welcome.
Yeah.
No matter what, you are welcome in our family. That was a really nice thing. But what's funny is our vacations as kids, we went from Illinois to Toledo, Ohio to see grandpa. That's all we ever did. But my dad, his job, he sold cow and pig feed. And so he's the manager of Mexico and South Korea. So he would go to South Korea, he would go to Mexico. I only got to go to Mexico like once. And whenever his colleagues would come up here, like their translators only work until 5. So like at 5:01, he's like, Mark, time for you to practice your Spanish. So I would help on him. So that's why I got to go down with him and work this conference when we were in Guadalajara. And it's funny because they only started traveling, like my parents travel abroad a lot now, but it wasn't until I was doing my master's in Germany. And I'm like, excuse me, and the dollar was really strong, and I'm like, hey, why don't you guys come visit me for a long weekend? Because they're both still working. And so it was like, Labor Day weekend or something. And they were looking for tickets and they were finding tickets. It was cheaper for them to fly from Illinois to Berlin than it was for them to go to Illinois to New York. So they're like, oh, so they came for a long weekend. Like, oh, this is pretty cool. And then I lived abroad for about 12 years in a row, and they would come 2 or 3 times a year the entire time because it became a thing. So they went from like, we only went to vacation in Ohio to, oh, now you guys are world travelers and you literally never took us when we were kids.
I'm so like kind of amazed at some of the parallels in your life and my life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
No, talk more about that.
And we're super cool.
Yes, we're very cool and we like to hug. But
right.
so
heck yeah.
My mother was born and raised in China, pre-communism, and so for her, like have a wide world view is a very important thing, right? But then my dad from this tiny town in Idaho, and so like, and we were pretty not rich growing up. So travel was also like vacation was, oh, go visit the grandparents in Idaho.
That was us.
But always having a wide worldview and knowing that not travel necessarily because we couldn't afford that travel, but having the opportunity to experience different cultures. So and now so my sister like my 2 sisters and I have all traveled quite a bit, living abroad, semester abroad, stuff like that. And my parents then after they were no longer supporting 3 children, began to travel and enjoyed that very much.
Wait a minute. There's a key thing right there.
Yeah, so that's an interesting question. I have no idea if that's even in our questions that are printed, but how do you, because you're a professor, and how do you like raise your children and support and travel all over the world?
Well, luckily as a professor, I have professor hours. So I get summers off, I have winter break, I've got spring break, I've got fall break. So we can travel those times. And when my kids were little, like, their schools were understanding, when you're 1st grade, 2nd grade. Once the older one got into high school, it's like, I don't want to take him out because I can explain algebra, but if I explain it to him, we're going to fight. It's like,
I get that.
So because we did homeschooling for a little while. But he just like my oldest is like social butterfly. Like he wants people all the time. Mm-hmm. And so as he got like this last summer, he's like, I don't want to travel this summer. He's like, I want to take summer school. I want to work. I want to hang out with my friends. I want to go to, Greek camp. So he still goes to Greek camp though. And so it was
What is Greek camp? I need to
I want
know.
to go to Greek camp. I don't even know what it is.
I know it's. Well, I'll tell you about it in a sec.
Okay.
But so he had last summer he had his like, I don't travel the world summer. I'm gonna be here. I was talking. I took him back to school today, and he's like, I really like when we travel because it's like a nice reset. So he's all pumped because we're going to Israel, Jordan, and Greece together this summer for about 4 weeks. So he's actually pumped to travel again. Because after he had 16-year-olds, they're fun.
Yeah,
they're fun.
Yeah.
So
I remember that.
Yeah, and so we've always tried to integrate that. Now, so I teach at a decent school, but the thing is with the YouTube, with the ad, like those little ads that run in front of YouTube videos, you get like 0.0001 cent, for a view basically, and we get a few million views a month. And so that has actually made it so we can travel. So all of our travel is paid for by the AdSense revenue. And we don't do a lot of sponsored content or things because we really focus on honest travel advice. And some brands don't like too much honesty, And for me, I'm like, look, we make enough to see the world, and we have a nice home. I can take care of my family. If anybody gets sick, I can help out family member. So I have that to support it to go see it. Because if we didn't make the money off the YouTube stuff, we wouldn't be traveling anywhere like we are. But that's what pays for us to do all these things. And the fact that I know that I'm helping people with it, it's like, some people have a hobby, they play golf. They'll play like 900 rounds of golf a day. I don't know how they play it, but like, that's not me. Like, I was like, if I'm going to spend 4 hours of my day, I want to research some place I want to go and then like go there and make, help other people learn more about it, and that's what it is. Like some people, like, don't get me wrong. I play some games on my phone, and we do have an Xbox and all the Nintendos ever. And yes, I still have my Sega Genesis in my office and, like the emulators on my phone for all the old gaming. But I'm like, I would rather go out and make videos about where I travel. Like that's my relaxation, like that's me taking care of myself is doing this. It's like my release from the stresses of life and work and stuff. And people have different ways to do it. And that's why some people are like, wait, like I was in England for 2 weeks and I made like 150 videos. And they're like, how'd you do that? I'm like, well, I had the topics, I did the research, had it ready. And then I was inspired when I was there. And then our fans were sending us questions. So I'm like, hey, I'm going to answer your questions. So I made a bunch of videos just answering their questions, and it was like little things like that inspire you to help more when you see that it helps other people. And so that's like my dopamine hit is helping people.
Dig it.
That definitely brings me to a question that I wanted to ask. We're always trying to bring this back to self-care because it's very much like what Nurtured Nerds is about. Is it's like finding ways to take these things that we're passionate about and like connect them with self-care somehow. And so, and you had touched on this a little before about like, that need for connection and the times that you've traveled for that purpose of connecting with somebody that you love. And you give all these tips. So you help people have self-care in their travels in that way. But I don't know, like what is something that maybe you haven't used because it didn't seem like it was relatable to everybody, but it's just something that you feel like maybe it's just something that you do for yourself, that you do for self-care when you travel?
So one of the things for me, I've learned, like, I get up early, as my wife will tell you, I'm like a squirrel with a nut when I wake up. I'm like all energy, let's do it, and I used to film all day when the kids were there too and all kinds of stuff. And I realized that there's no reason to do like the 150 videos I did because I was by myself. When I'm with my family, it's like, look, I need to find a better way. And so what I do is it's self-care, but it's also like helping enjoy my time better, which is also kind of a version of self-care. And so what I'll do is like I wake up early, get showered, get ready, take all my camera equipment while wife and kids are still sleeping, kiss, hug, say a prayer for them. They say a prayer, and then I go out and I film. And so I'll film from 7, 8 in the morning till 10, when the museums start opening up, and then I go back, and that gives them a chance to get cleaned up, have their breakfast, like they're up and going. And I'm like, hey, I've got my work out of the way. So now I can focus on you guys. I can focus on it, like my kid asking me questions and not being like, hey, I got to get this beat. I got to get this shot here. I got to do this. It really helped me take care of myself because I was really stressing myself out trying to do too much filming and too many videos when I was traveling. Yeah. And so by really kind of having this schedule, like, no, I get up in the morning and I go film like the main videos I want to get done. It's like, I got to get these filmed today. I do those. And then if I film other stuff during the day, like we always would give the kids time at parks and stuff for like an hour to play. We'll play with them. And sometimes, I mean, they want to play with each other. They're like, hey, let's fight. Let's have a soccer ball. Let's kick around. You be kids. You're like Eiffel Tower. Like you'll notice in our videos and when they're in Paris, a bunch of my film by the Eiffel Tower, because there's a playground right behind the Eiffel Tower that my kids have been playing at literally since they couldn't walk. And now they're 16 and 11, and so it's like they do that. They're playing around, they're having a good time. I just walk like literally like 50 feet over, boom, Eiffel Tower. I film my stuff, so I do get a few extra ones then. But that was one of those things, like when you're thinking about self-care, sometimes it's just realizing that you don't have to do everything, or you need to take some things away because you can't do it all, And I think that's one thing, like if you look at creators it's sometimes like I need to give things away. Like I used to edit all of my videos, like everything. I did everything. A couple of years ago, I let people like cut down my video and then I put all the B-roll and text in. Only in like the last 6 to 8 months, I'm like, you know what? I have to there's people that do a way better job than me. I can tell them what videos to put in there, but they can make the transitions all cool and stuff. And in that way, it literally gave me 6 to 8 hours more a week that I can focus on me. I can focus on my family, self-care kind of stuff. And I think that's why one of the things I think with my kids, I realized is like sometimes, it's okay. It's okay. Like if your kid's hungry, if you have the means and you're at the airport, why not get them the snack? Because you know what? The food on the airplane is going to suck. They're not going to like it. It's okay. Sometimes I'm like, you know what? It's because honestly, if you ever see me flying, you'll notice I never get the meal. I might get the snack at the end, but I'll like transatlantic flights. I never get the meal going over because I either don't like it or it's just not for me. I'd rather have something else. I'm like, I know better for me to do this. And that's part of it, is just realizing the things that are like your triggers or your things that stress you out. And for me, it's just like, I don't like having the table down and the food's right there and then they don't come for a while. I'm like, I'd rather just, no, and part of it's just that knowing is helpful for self-care kind of stuff. So.
Yeah.
I don't know if that answers your question, but that's something.
No, it was all really good.
Yeah, I think it did. And like, it seems to me like you know yourself really well. And I think that's an important, I love that for you because it means that you know what's important. You know how you like to feel when what you like to experience as you're traveling, and that sets you up for success. And I love that.
Thanks, Gracie.
Yeah, you're welcome. So I want to sort of pivot a little bit because we've been focusing on travel a lot, and we're going to sort of tie these two topics together: the cuddling and the travel.
I got some funny cuddling stories for you if you want. So you just let me know.
Well, let me ask this one, and then we'll see if those stories will probably be an answer to the question. So do you have some cuddle positions to use on planes or bus or something that partners might or close friends might utilize on long flights or long drives? So how do you like to be comfortable when you need to sleep on a plane or a bus or whatever?
So my cuddling position on the plane, I always take one for the team. I don't sleep on planes. Like flew to Japan, 12 hours, then sleep. Like I can't sleep on planes. But I know if my wife doesn't sleep, it's gonna be horrible. So like with the kids, I am the designated pillow. I'm the designated getting punched in the face. That's because my 11-year-old is trying to stretch kind of thing. I am the when the kids were little and they get fussy, I'm the hey, it's okay, like lay on me. I am the pillow, right? Yeah. I am the extra whatever you need. Like you need water, I'll get water. That's kind of my thing. But I think one of the really important things, cuddling and comfort when you're on the plane, really comes down to your clothing. It's like my wife, we've learned that she is not allowed to wear a turtleneck when we fly because she's scared to fly and she'll freak out. She's like, I gotta get this off. And she's like taking her, I'm like, and so like we're like in the mornings, because sometimes we have to get up like at 3 a.m. to get your flight. And she'll be put on, it'll be winter and she's put on a turtleneck. I'm like, why are you doing that to yourself? Don't do that. She's like, but just think because my wife dresses really nice. Like she's got style, and you're just like, I'm like, I have no style. I wear Wolters World stuff all the time to make my life easier, and I see her, and she used to wear this black turtleneck when she'd fly all the time, and it was like time to get. I'm like, you can just don't wear it. Because then she started realizing a little bit looser for her, made her more comfortable.
Yeah.
She actually has one of those like blow up pillow things that puts on the ground so she can put her feet up on there because she's 5'3", so the chairs aren't really built for her height. Right. So she has that, and that makes her a lot more comfortable. And so like she'll wrap her arm on me, or like whenever, because when the kids were little, we'd have like the 4, and so we'd have us on the edges so the kids didn't fall out. But it'd be funny because somehow, even though the kids are still in their seatbelts, they would still somehow be on me. I don't know how that worked, but somehow they could do that. It was amazing. But that's one thing. Another thing I think is, it sounds weird, but stretch. Like when you're in the plane, go back to the bathroom, do some like go on your tiptoes and do some squats, because you want to get your blood flowing through, because that's going to make you a lot more comfortable when you're there. And if people are laying on you, or if your cuddle buddy is there, you're a little bit more comfortable, because as we all know, we all love to hold each other really tight when we're first dating. But after a few years of marriage, like, that's my side of the bed. It's like, I need to sleep too. You snore. There's all kinds of stuff. And yeah, so that's one of the things in the play. Trains, actually, that's one, like we have hilarious pictures of like the whole family is like sleeping in the equivalent of like one Amtrak seat. Yeah, that's supposed to be for like 2 people. We'll have all of them be in there, and there's like room on the side too, because just like they all kind of like cuddle up onto me and then cuddle a bit more. And I'm like, anyone else?
No, it's like a cuddle pile.
Yeah.
So
You're like at the bottom of the dog pile. Everybody.
Exactly. I'm just like, I can't breathe. Okay. So,
get the straw.
Yes. But I will say, I have to warn my American friends, if you're going to Europe, like Germany and stuff, and you get a double room with a double bed and it's together, usually it's 2 single beds pushed together. And if you cuddle in the middle, that crack starts to widen. And sometimes, I mean, I'm not saying you're like cuddling with force. I'm just saying you're just there. And sometimes they go apart. And I've fallen through. Like, not because I'm a big guy, like even when I was falling through, we've lost our kids in there before. We used to stay, like one time my parents were flying back out of Frankfurt, and I missed my train. Like, hey, you can just stay at the hotel with us. So, we got the beds together. We're like, oh, it's like the old days. And my dad's like, I'll sleep in the middle. And no joke, the bed's like separate. My dad's a tiny guy. The bed's separate. My dad just disappears between.
Poor dad.
So I always like these jokes, like the bed will eat your children, so be careful. Like it's like I understand why there's not a lot of children in Europe. The bed.
Now that sounds like a Doctor Who episode.
Exactly.
Bed eating children.
Exactly. So yeah,
that's awesome.
So be warned. Cuddling can be dangerous in Europe.
In Europe, but nowhere else. Everywhere else, it's fine.
Yeah, totally fine. Or just stay on the one single bed and then have the other one for your clothing and your luggage.
Awesome.
Well, that makes me curious if you've noticed any other cuddling hazards in your travels other than the double bed conundrum.
So actually, the blanket, so like it's mostly, if you go to Europe, it's not like sheet and cover, it's duvets. And so you have 2 duvets, one for one side of the bed, one for the other side of the bed. And sometimes like people like, oh, then I don't bother the person there. But it makes it a little harder to cuddle when everyone's got their own blanket. It's like I can't quite snuggle up. But one of the things that's really annoying is the pillows. Because sometimes it has like the whole length bed pillow, like a double bed wide one pillow, which if you're one of the persons, like my wife likes to sleep on her side. And I like to sleep on the other. And it's like, you can't, like, I want to have my pillow like this or scrunched up. It just doesn't work. So you're not as comfy. So
beware the long pillows. Yeah.
Yeah. Huh. All right. So there was a question that I wanted to ask, and I'm looking. Have you ever had like a mystical or magical connection when visiting historical or sacred sites in other places? Or
Oh yeah, like there's times where you really can feel the electricity of people, like of something, like you're just like, wow, like it like overwhelms you sometimes. Yeah, like I
Mm,
remember I went to the cathedral in Montevideo, Uruguay, and I walked in and I'm just like, wow, like this is special, you know. I remember the first time I was in Bruges and they pull out the vial of Jesus's blood, and I mean, it was just static electricity, but it like shocked me, and I'm like, whoa, like this is, you know, I mean, I was like, I don't know, like 16 at the time, so I was like, this is so cool. I'm like, was that like a parlor trick or something? But it was like, there's been places I've gone where you just feel calm, you know, and I don't know if it's mystical or religious or just, it's just sometimes you get to a place where it's just like, yeah, this is like, I feel calm here. And I think that's one thing, if we all could find that in our own lives, a place near where we are to have that. Like some people, like for me, my place of calm is when I walk my dog, there's a retention pond. And I walk around the retention pond. And for some reason, it's just, I mean, it's, I'm like, seriously, it's a retention pond that has high power tension power lines next to it. So we're not talking, it's not romantic. It's not beautiful, but for some reason, it's just like, I can walk around that 2 times, I'm like, all my stress is gone, you know? And you find places like that. And that's why when people say like there's special places to them when they travel, I feel like that's kind of, that's there. It's like, this is something special to me. Like I go there and I relax. Like for me, I was like, I used to live in Turku, Finland. And I like going there, and I go there, but I don't want to do anything. I just want to go there. I just want to go and sit on the Our River, you know, have lunch, just read a book. It's like so calming that you just feel like gemütlich, comfortable. You know, you're like, oh, that's just like a very calming thing.
yeah. Well, isn't Finland like one of the like people are happiest there or something?
So this is one of my things about with marketing. I always tell my students, look at the methodology. How do they determine happiness? And in the study, it's income, healthcare, so it's not empathy, it's not smiling, it's not things we consider traditional happiness. And that's one thing, is like, I lived in Finland, they had one of the highest suicide rates in the world. Is that really happy? You know, like you don't see them smiling, but I love living there. I thought the people were great. You know, that's why I always find funny, because like Italy ranks really low on happy and America ranks low on happy. I'm like, I don't know. I see a lot of happy Americans. I don't see a lot of happy Italians. I don't see a lot of smiling Finns. I don't see a lot of smiling Danes, you know? But that's just it. It's a different kind of, I would almost say those lists of happiest countries is more like content with lifeness would be a better way to put it. Like that's how I find it more than like what I see as happiness. Because when I think of happiness, I think of a baby smiling, you know, and laughing. And it's just a different thing. So that's why, you know, I've thought about doing a video on those, because it comes out every year. And I remember when I lived there, they're like, I mean, we would have conversation with the exchange program, like, hey, look, when it's November and December and it's been dark all day and you only have like 3 hours of daylight and you get depressed, come talk to us. Talk to your counselor. You know, there's people for you, because people got depressed. And like living there 1 year was kind of cool, but I could see living it in that darkness for 6 months. I could see how it could be kind of impactful. So it is interesting. Like I can see the happiness in the summer though. I could definitely see the happiness, but I do feel that list should be content with life, the most content with life or their lives, kind of thing.
Got it. Thanks for that.
No problem. The professor in me had to come out, be like, yeah, methodology. I gotta ask about that one. You know, it's the old 2 out of 3 dentists prefer Colgate and 3 out of 4 prefer Aquafresh. That math doesn't quite add up.
Right.
So have you been to every continent except Antarctica? And if so,
Yeah.
do you plan to go to Antarctica at any point?
So Antarctica, I do plan to go to. I found one, like I think you have to be at least 15 to go. So I'm waiting until my 11-year-old is 15, and then we'll go, because I want to take the whole family down there for that. Take them down there. So that is part of the plan. I know. So when I was living in Argentina, I could have gone down there in the 90s, like it was like 99, 98. And I didn't do it. I ended up going to Peru and Bolivia. And, so it was like, I had a great time, but still I'm like, I had the chance to go to Antarctica, didn't. And like, I look back on it now and they're like, yeah, we don't guarantee you actually get to put your feet down on there because of the weather. So you could end up spending like 2 weeks and not actually do it. And now they can fly you in. There's all kinds of stuff, but that's when I want to take the boys to. Like that's a special thing. Like that's like, all right, like we've seen the end of the world, like the end of the earth. So
Yeah.
That'll be really special. I mean, they're all really special in their own way, every trip.
Yeah, and that's what's true. And that's what I tell people. It's like some people are like, well, I don't get to travel abroad, so it's not the same. Like, no, you can have a great time traveling locally. It's amazing how many times we don't even realize there's wonderful things in our own homes, our own communities, like we go every Christmas time, we go to this like 1800s mansion. They've turned it into a bed and breakfast. And my wife and two sons, we go and we rent their carriage house just for the weekend. And everything's done up as Christmas. It's 35 minutes from my house. Okay, so we're not going far, but we found it by accident because one of our planes got canceled because of a hurricane, and we couldn't get back home. We're like, well, let's just stay here because the grandparents are already there babysitting, so let's at least have a night. And I knew my wife didn't like, she liked bed and breakfast, so I found this one, and now we've been going. It's like 4 or 5 Christmases in a row we've gone there, and it's like our family thing. It's like, you find that local something that it becomes special for you. Like it could be the state park nearby. We go and we do our family hike at Thanksgiving, kind of thing. There's Turkey Run in Indiana, which is right by where we live. You could go there and do that. I mean, you find things, and that's just it. Like you make the point to make travel a part of your life. It doesn't have to be international. It can be literally, I'm going to go explore that local city museum. Your hometown has a historic society. It has a Quincy museum. It has a Chicago museum. It has its own thing. Go check it out. I mean, maybe it's only $5. Maybe it's not that great, but you know what? You're doing something and it gets you kind of like, okay. And maybe it's you go and check out all the little dive restaurants, the diners, drive-in and dive stuff. Like that can be fun. And so take that opportunity and you get that exploring going. Because remember, I never traveled. And then all of a sudden I go everywhere, and for me, I mean, I feel bad because my grandfather, he used to send us postcards. He was a minister. And when he retired, he was like a temporary minister that they'd send in place for like 2 weeks or 3 months or 6 months or whatever. So wherever he went, he'd send us postcards. We threw them all away, which I'm really sad at now. But I started doing that when I went to Australia in high school and I started sending postcards. I have boxed this by this completely full of postcards from all over the world that I sent to my mom, my dad, my brother, my aunt, my grandma who's passed away, so it's like, you're like, man, I've sent a lot of postcards, but it's like, it's one of those things I tell people, it's like, look, when you travel, you don't have to buy anybody a souvenir, get them a postcard because it's more work to do that because you got to go get the stamps. But it's like, I was thinking of you when I was at this place and I thought you were special to write you a card, and that's, for me, that's nicer than I got this $2 crappy Eiffel Tower keychain that you're going to throw away in 3 days. It's like that makes it something a little bit more personal. So, and that's the thing, is like little things like that can really have an impact. I know it had an impact on me. I mean, I do it, and it's something my grandpa did, 40 years ago.
Yeah. My family has sort of tradition of buying the crappy keychain. So like we always like I have a little drawer full of keychains from all of my my sister's traveling and my own traveling, like but now it's like the search for like the really cool, unusual, kitschy kind of keychain from the tiny like $5 museum, like you said.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no. So like, if you were at my parents' base right now, the ping pong table and the pool table are covered with all those little things we've been buying, like the little version of the Eiffel Tower or the house in Portugal or the Colosseum. We have it all. Yeah. It's only in the last like 10, 12 years we switched from buying all that stuff to, why don't we get a painting that's painted by a local artist for like $20? And then like the frames are more expensive than the painting, but if you go to our house, because I'm at my parents' house right now, like our whole living room wall is just paintings from around the world. And then I collect masks. So I have masks from around the world that are hanging up in places. And we have we had to take down the bugs in the bathroom. You know, you get the big huge bugs that are framed up because people were like, I can't use your bathroom. So we had to take those down. Like we had a friend who would literally go to the bathroom before she came to our house because she could not go to the bathroom in our bathroom.
Awesome.
So maybe just one last thing, which and it might be obvious, but you had mentioned that you used to never travel and then you like started traveling and now it's such a big part of your life. How has travel changed you? Or how have you changed since you've been traveling? Like, I know there's a million ways probably, but like, what's the thing that stands out most to you?
I think it really comes down to the fact that with all the travels now, like how it does open your eyes and it opens your heart. I mean, it sounds so cheesy saying like I say it and I'm like, that sounds like such a canned BS kind of thing, but it's so true because you start to see things differently. Like when I watch the news, how I watch news now versus 30 years ago before I started traveling is totally different because now I see all sides. I understand where these conflicts came from. It's not something that started today. It's something that started 100 years ago or 50 years ago, or it really opens you up. And what really I think now what's got me the most is I really don't see that we are different. Like everywhere you go around the world, everybody they want a home, they want to have nice food, they want to be with their friends, they want to have love, they want to cuddle. Like this is an international thing. And when you start traveling, you start to realize we're actually not that different. And that's why I want people to really like go out and learn culture and go do things and don't just go for the Instagram post. Go and meet the people because then you start to see it's like, oh man, Rwanda was actually one of the most amazing places I've ever gone. And I knew nothing, and I learned so much. And now like I just thinking about going back to Italy and the grandmas like yelling, "Hey, you're back! Let's go!" It just is one of those things that makes me so happy. But honestly, it's just realizing that stuff isn't strange, stuff isn't weird. It's just different. But in the end, we're all trying to get doing the same thing. Like I want to be happy. I want my family there. I want to eat well. I want to have the good food. I want to see the cool sights. And it doesn't matter where you're from. Like that's something we're all still the same. And that's where we have a world where there's so many things that are pulling us apart. When you start to look at it, like, actually, we're not as different as we think. We can get along again. We can be together. It's okay. Like, and that's one thing I think with travel is you start to see some of the more similarities. We think there's such big differences, and sometimes there really isn't. We just kind of make those differences, those things weird, but it's just something different.
So you moved me when you said, we're all just the same. I believe my mom taught me from very young, the world is not a scary place. It's an interesting one.
Yeah. I got to remember that one. Your mom's smart. I like that one.
You can, and anytime you use it, just send me a quarter. But and we'll put it in the mom fund. But it's like it's not. There's no reason for us to be afraid of other humans. Mm-hmm. We're all the same. We all want the same things for our children. We want safety and care and love, and so yeah, I
and cuddles. Don't forget the cuddles.
And cuddles, and yeah, we do. So, what would you like to say to people who are listening or watching who've never seen the world beyond their home, their state, their province, their wherever, and maybe they want to travel, but they don't think they have the budget or know how to do it? So you sort of answered that already, but let's see what else you have.
Well, this is one of the big things because I get really upset with the Instagrammers and TikTokers that are like, you can see the world for free. Just have these credit cards. Yeah, you got to spend $3,000 to get the points. Like, traveling the world is not for free. It's not cheap. There's ways you can do it more of a budget. We have videos to help people with doing that. But honestly, I've actually worked with people, and it's like, they were talking like 2020 during COVID, where they're like, my kid is 10. We don't have much money, but they've always wanted to go to Italy. He loves soccer. I want to take him for his high school graduation. I mean, we're looking at 10 years old. You're in what, fifth grade? So we're looking 8 years out. I'm like, you're starting with this. It can start with just if you can save $20 a month.
Yeah.
And that starts to add up. And after 8 years, all of a sudden you and your son both have plane tickets and you got a week in Italy. And that's just it. Like, we always look for like instant gratification, but sometimes you got to think, it's like, look, like Antarctica, it's not cheap to go there. I can't just drop a check and give them my credit card. Do that. That's like, okay, we're going to do that. I might need to ask for a sponsorship. I might need to talk to the companies like, hey, I'll do some videos for you so we can all go. Because that's not, I mean, it's like 15 grand or something like that. I'm like, I don't have that, but I know I want to do that with him. And Liam's 12, it's 15. I'm like 3-4 years down the road. Okay. So I'm looking at, where is he 3-4 years down the road? It's got to be January. We can start putting some money away. A little bit here, that makes a difference. And the thing is, some people say, oh, well, you stop getting your Starbucks. Well, not everybody drinks Starbucks. I don't drink Starbucks. I don't go to McDonald's. I mean, I'm a big boy, but I eat a lot. My wife's a fantastic cook. She put 120 pounds on me since we got married. Like, that's a good cook, and it's not, it's not all expensive food, but it's like, if you start making specific choices that, yes, I want this, and you make the financial decision, you can make, I mean, I remember when I was a kid, I dated this girl from Germany and I wanted to go see her. And the tickets now are cheaper than they were, in 1997 when I went through 96 when I visited her. And I'm like, I worked that summer. I had my summer job. I was a kid. I want to have my fun and do things with my friends. But I always like, every paycheck, I put $100 away. And I know sometimes we don't have that extra $100. Sometimes some months it's only $10. But you do that and you make it so that it's not for, oh, I want to get something extra for Christmas for my kid. Oh, I want to get, I need a new shirt. Like, it's not the car needs, no, that is by itself.
Yep.
And that is my dream. I want my family. I want to do these things. And eventually over time, you can save it up, and it doesn't have to be Italy. Sometimes it's like, you want to go to Disney. Sometimes I just want to go to Chicago. I want to spend a weekend there. Like, when I was a kid, that was our big thing. Like, we go, I won't lie to you, going to Toledo wasn't exciting. Okay. Now, it was nice to see Grandpa, but it was not exciting. Sorry, Toledo. Sorry. Okay. But I remember, it was a big deal. We went up to Chicago for a weekend. We went Friday, came back Sunday. We took the train up. It was like little things like this. It can be a big deal. And if you've got kids, whichever is for your kids, you can see a lot of stuff on the internet. But you take them someplace. Hey, we're going to go down to St. Louis. We're going to go to the Magic House. We're going to go to the City Museum. It's like this fun, crazy, like insane museum park thing in one location. And it's like $10, $15. Like, you know what? We did that. Maybe we went to a baseball game, and it's a moment you'll have with your family forever. Because that's one of the things. It's like, we've been really blessed that my parents have been able to travel with us. So my kids, they talk to my parents. It's not just, remember when we made cookies. It was, remember when we were in Rwanda. Remember when we were in China. It's like they have more of a bond there. And that's one thing for, like, with even my parents. Like, we weren't super close when we were little, but when when they started to travel with me, it was like, hey, like, we started to see each other differently, and actually brought us closer together. Like, I was here tonight, my mom and I, we just planned a little Christmas market trip together. It was like, hey, and I know it's hard, and I know it's sometimes there's no money left over at the end, but even if it's just $3 here, like, you have that spot that it's saved, and you're saying, no, we're going to go there. And sometimes, like, look, you work your butt off, you get into college, or you get into trade school. When you finish that trade school, we're going together to, we're going to Ireland for 5 days, and we get to see Dublin. Our family's from Ireland. We're going to do it. Like, you were going to Mexico to see where the family was from. We're going to Colombia where the family's from. Like, those little things can be it makes it so much more impactful. And like, we made it, like, we saved up for it. This is something truly special. That's why, when you get a chance to travel like that, that's why when I've gone to Disney, I see families really having a hard time because it's so expensive, that the financial, like, drain from it, pressure from it, like, we have to have a good time because we've saved so much. And that's why I tell people, like, you don't have to go to Italy. You don't have to go to Disney. Sandusky, Ohio, right by Toledo, we went to Cedar Point. A lot less and great rides, go to Santa Claus, Indiana, and go to Holiday World. It's a lot less, and stay in a little cabin. It's amazing, those little things, especially when your kids are little. It's going to the park. I have a friend of mine. He runs a fishing outfit at Yellowstone, and his vacation, he just goes to national parks, he and his wife and their dogs. That is his he doesn't go anywhere. He's like, we go there, we do that. And that's his thing. I'm like, you find that and it's like, hey, that's the greatest vacation ever.
Lovely. Yeah. Thank you. So how do we find you?
So if you want to find me, you can find me on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, LinkedIn at Wolters World, WOLTERS World. If you go on YouTube's our biggest thing. So if you put Wolters World in there and you spell it wrong, it'll still come up. You'll see my bald head with a ponytail and a beard pop up. You're like, hey, I know that round face. You'll hear, and it'll start with, hey there, fellow travelers. I'm Mark from Wolters World, and that's how our videos start. So you go on there. If you have a destination you want to go to in the world, just put it in. Put Wolters World in St. Louis, Wolters World in Chicago, Wolters World Beijing, Buenos Aires, Barcelona. We have over 2,500 videos, travel videos online, and I think we have about 600 business videos online. So we haven't been everywhere, but we've been to a lot of places, and we always try to give the most honest advice possible.
Awesome. Well, now I want to go and see what I did wrong when I visited Beijing. So like, I'm going to go watch your video and say, oh, I did that. Oh, I shouldn't have done that.
Well, that's the way, because sometimes people get on, they're like, oh, I wish I would have watched it before. Or the one that I feel really bad is like, I'll put a video out and they're like, I just got back. Why last week? I'm sorry. It was really bad when it's like one of our fans has been following us forever, and like, you didn't tell me you were going there. Like, if you would have told me, I would have moved the schedule around. If I would have known, I would have put that Pittsburgh video up sooner. So that's why it's like, I've got some stuff coming from like the Caribbean right now, Europe and Caribbean, but then like May, I have like just a bunch of Italy, because I have so many fans like, we're going to Italy, we're going to Italy, we're going to Italy. I'm like, okay, we're going to Italy. Okay, I'm going to put out a bunch of Italy in May and April, because that seems to be by far the most in demand from our people that we're like our fans are going to. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to put as much Italy as I can out to help you, because you've been here for me, and I want to help you too.
Yeah, awesome.
Thank you so much. This has been an amazing interview.
Well,
and how do you feel?
Really fun. Thank you.
You're welcome. How do you feel after doing this interview?
I feel relaxed. It's been a very stressful week, and it's only Sunday, and so this was like a nice relax. It was like talking to friends. That's one of the things. When I get on podcasts and I talk to people, I feel like we're buddies and we're friends, so we can just talk. That's like the best kind of podcast. You guys do a fantastic job, so thank you for that.
Oh, thanks. I know. I feel like, how am I going to connect this guy with my sister, because she's in Ohio. And next time you drive to Toledo, you'll pass right by her.
The funny thing is, I don't have a dunce of Toledo. I have a dunce of Cleveland, and I've got a dunce of amusement parks we filmed at Cedar Point. So maybe I got to roll through Toledo one more time when I go up to Detroit. I'm supposed to go up there later this year to film. So
all right,
go find Grandpa's old house. He's been gone since I was in 8th grade.
Like doing those kinds of like heart-based pilgrimages, those are so sweet.
Yeah, and that's one thing. Sometimes people ask us, where should I go travel? And I'm like, what do you like to do? And a lot of people, it's like, I want to see where our roots are from. That's one of the easiest things to do, because then it's like, you go and you're like, I remember the first time I went to Germany, I'm like, this is just like what my grandma used to cook. And those buildings look like the downtown and where I live. Oh, that's right. It's the German Historic District. Oh, and then you're like, duh. And it's like, oh my gosh, I remember these things. So I do still remember the first time I went to Germany and I had Spätzle, the egg noodles. And I'm like, my grandma makes this, but she puts chicken in it. So she made chicken and noodles, but it was just Spätzle with chicken in it. And she had passed by that time. And, it was like throwback to grandma's house when I was like 10. You're like, whoa. Yeah, it was really nice.
Awesome. All right, Alyssa, are you going to take it our next, or
am
I?
Well, Gita's asking if we're doing a cuddle of the episode, but it seemed like we weren't doing one.
Oh, well,
we had lots of cuddles throughout the episode.
Let's ask Mark, do you have a favorite cuddle position or pose, or?
With my wifey Pooh, anytime I'm with her. We are very much huggy, like, Mom, you're embarrassing me. Dad, you're embarrassing me. Stop it. Like our kids have like a sixth set, like from upstairs. They'll be like, stop it. I'm like, I'm just giving her a hug in the kitchen. They're like, stop it. You're embarrassing us. Like, there's nobody here. I'm in my own home.
I love that. I love that. So then
I can tell you my wife's favorite cuddle position.
Yeah.
It's when she sticks her cold feet on my belly. That is just evil. Evil. That is her favorite one.
Oh, sickles of pain.
I'm like, no. You like, it's like ice rays are going into me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, sickles of pain. That's the cuddle of the episode.
Sickles of pain.
So
I love it.
I feel like then maybe the cuddle of the week should just be hand holding.
We do that all the time.
Yeah, we can like hand hold, like hands across the world.
There you go.
I just feel like for some reason I feel like hand holding is the cuddle of the episode.
That works for me. Perfect. Yeah. Thanks, Grace.
Yeah,
thank you, Alyssa. If you ever want to have me come back on again, I'm always happy to come chat some more.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I definitely would like to have you back on for a more nerdy episode about those other things that you were mentioning at the beginning.
Yeah, no problem.
I'm sure we'll have a few panels along the way.
Yeah, I'm excited for the 60th anniversary. So how are they going to make David Tennant's coming back work with the new? I'm excited for the new Doctor. He looks cool. I like his outfit, the orange. It's a cool outfit. Sorry, we'll save that for the next episode. We can have a watch party for the 60th anniversary series. So I'm trying to figure out if they're, because they said they're having 3, but is David Tennant in all 3?
You better be. Do you think he'll always be the favorite?
I wanted them to have all the new Doctor Who's have like their own special. And so they all lead in to like the 60th anniversary. So Eccleston has one with Rose, and Tennant with Catherine Tate, and then Matt Smith and Capaldi, and they all come together in an episode, and then that's when he regenerates at the end. Like, so it'd be like 5, so the 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th. So like all those, so it's like 5 specials and then a super special with everybody in it. Like
that sounds really chaotic, but I love it.
Yeah. So,
intense.
Yeah. Sorry, can you tell I was thinking about that for a long time? I'm like, oh, that would be so cool. Anyway. Well, I will let you ladies go for the evening. Thank you so much for the invitation. It's been fun.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mark.
No
You've been very generous with your time.
Thank you.
What else do we need? What else do we need to cover, Alyssa?
Oh, just housekeeping.
Okay.
We have our website, nurturednerds.com, and our YouTube channel, which is where you're listening to this. You already know about it, but Nurtured Nerds on YouTube. Our membership is free, so all you need to do is email nurturednerdsnewbies@gmail.com. That'll be in the description. And you will be eligible to win a care package in our next raffle. We have a Facebook group, Nurtured Nerds community, and then we also have events every week there on the weekend, usually Saturday or Sunday, called Nerd Break. And then there's a little something different every week of the month. So definitely, if you are at all interested, we would love to have you join us in our Nerd Breaks. We have a Instagram and a Discord server and a Twitch stream coming soon. The Discord server is created, and we will start streaming games on there soon. Just need people to stream for. Please join if you're at all interested. We'll have lots of different voice channels to hang out in for different purposes. So there's always a place to go to hang out and just talk. And what else? Oh, find us on meetup.com under Nurtured Nerds. I don't run that. I'm not sure. Does Mary run that? Gita, maybe you can help me out with that. Crystal does. Awesome. What else? Oh, I will let you know about our member raffle. So we have our care package, as always, with a free 30-minute virtual session with one of our Nurtured Nerds professional cuddlers. After you have an intake screening with them, we want to make sure you're a good fit. So you have an awesome session. You will get Mary's free ebook. Well, her ebook's not free, but you'll get it for free. The Art of Authenticity, How to Be You by Mary Sorensen. You'll get a free gift card to buy the game of your choice or to go towards the game of your choice. And you can submit a question for a future podcast. And also you'll get a discount for Jerk Proof Your Relationships, a really wonderful course run by Cassandra Brown. And Gita says we are designing our next side quest, so stay tuned. I know that he has also been Dungeon Master for some awesome quests, and he's creating more. And so stay tuned for future nerd breaks about that. Gita, can you let me know when our next raffle is? I know we just had one a few weeks ago, so it'll be July, June. Okay, so beginning of July. Sounds good. So you got a while. Please join us.
Awesome. So are we all feeling nurtured?
I am.
I'm feeling nurtured and connected and eager to start traveling again.
Cool.
So I think that's I think we're ready to wrap, yeah?
All right.
So if you would like to join us, Mark, we always end with a self hug. If we'd hug each other, but we're not in the same space. So if you'd like to join us, take your right hand and put it on your left shoulder. Take your left hand and put it on your right arm. Give yourself a squeeze. Take a deep breath in.
We're wrapping up the episode and wrapping ourselves up in an embrace.
And it's nice to rock. I like that you're rocking back and forth, Mark. It's nice to rock if it feels good to you, and if it doesn't, that's cool. I also remember to breathe because oxygen supports oxytocin, and oxytocin is that naturally occurring hormone in our bodies that helps us to feel good. Touch is one of the ways that we generate oxytocin in our bodies. As well as so whether it's someone else touching us or even us touching ourselves, just like self-soothing touch, and oxygen helps with that process. So always, and laughter's a good one.
We had some good laughs today.
We did. Alyssa, I'm gonna let you close this out. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what else to say other than if you made it to the end of the episode, you're amazing and we love you. And please join us on the next one.
Awesome.
Until next time, stay nurtured and stay nerdy.
Thanks, y'all. Good
Bye.
night.
Good night.
Yeah.